All right, I've got 7 o'clock, so I will open the January 14th meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission. First thing is a roll call. Teresa,
You're mute.
You here?
Jimmy.
Would you call it me?
Yeah, Jimmy.
I'm here.
Ken. Here. Peter.
Here.
Silvana.
Here.
Frank.
I'm here.
I am present. Did I miss anybody? All right, first item is the approval of the minutes from, actually, it was December 12th. No, December 10th, sorry. Any discussion or comments on the minutes? And if not, do we have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Polling individually, Jimmy,
Okay.
Frank,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Ken, Silvana,
Yes.
Jimmy,
You asked me already.
did you approve it?
He
Yes.
approved
Or did you
it.
approve?
Teresa, you haven't approved yet.
Yes, I do too.
All right, I also approve.
Jim spoke for me. Right.
Jim, is your vote counting twice tonight? I don't
I
know.
don't
This one.
Right.
That won't get me too far these days.
All right, first item, and I have recused myself from this already, but it's 122 Kendrick Road. It's a request for determination of applicability. It is continued from the last meeting. And Jimmy, you like to take it away?
No.
I'll mute my audio.
What does it say this again? I wasn't.
This
Wait,
is
what?
the continuation determination of applicability for 122 Kendrick, the owner's truck,
Okay.
Kristen
This
Wall.
is the one we
Yeah.
had the site visit on, Jimmy, remember?
Yep, right. I've got it. Okay. I didn't hear everything at first. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? We talked about the patio and the tree clearing, and he wants to possibly thin out some of the trees. I don't think that's part of I think that's a future plan though, wasn't it, Teresa?
Yes.
And did anyone see anything that they want to talk about?
No.
No one? Okay,
I didn't see anything that looked it looked appropriate to me
Yep.
in all regards.
okay. I would say that he seemed to be far enough away from the resource areas. The trees that he'd have to, cut the dead branches and stuff on were, I think, pretty far away. So I don't see anything detrimental there. I think we did talk about some hay bales on one side where he has to go parallel to the garage to get down back. Is that right? Does anyone recall that?
Yeah, I think it's right, Jimmy. Yes.
Okay, so
Was that the pathway that was?
yeah, the pathway we
Yes.
walk down along the side of the house. So I would say, was this a request for determination of applicability? Or
Yes.
what was it? Okay, so I would say that it's fine the way it is. I don't think it needs any. It would be negative in my book, anyways. Does anyone have something to say?
No, I think we wanted us to look at it to see, there was a question because the flagging was done in 95. And I know Elaine didn't think anything had changed and it seemed fine to me. I'm sorry. Silvana, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
No, you're correct. I was agreeing with what Jimmy was saying because I was there that day too, and I think we all agreed.
Okay. All right, so we'll hand this back over to Bob. How do we get him off mute?
I can take care of that myself, Jimmy, thanks.
Okay,
All right, so somebody would need to make that motion to issue a negative determination of applicability.
1 second. Is he there tonight?
Yes, the owner's trucks are here.
Yep. Hey, Jim, how you doing? This is Walton, Chris.
Okay, hi. Okay, so you're in good shape, I think. I don't see any issues.
Great. Yeah, no, the tree thing was a later thing, and then we'd have folks come down and look at them. And the only thing we wanted to do was cut down the dead trees. So
Yep. Okay, sounds fine. Someone want to make a motion then? Anyone?
I'll take it. I'll make a motion to issue a negative determination.
Okay, yeah.
second.
Anyone? Everyone? Okay, have a second? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
I think we have to do it.
You want to poll, Bob?
I think we have to poll.
Yes, you do have
everyone.
to poll individually. If you'd like, I can,
Yeah,
take that
why don't
over
you take
for
care
you.
of that? Yeah, why don't
Sure.
you do that?
All right, so Peter,
You're on mute, Peter.
Aye, yes.
Ken.
Yeah.
Frank,
Yes.
Peter, is that you barking again?
Yeah, I
Jimmy,
know. The snoring was easier.
Jimmy,
Yes. I'm okay with it.
okay, Teresa,
Yes.
and I got Silvana. Did I get you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm not voting again. It is unanimous to issue a negative determination of applicability. And that's all we need to. So let's see, do we have Elaine? You're on, right?
I'm here.
So you'll take care of all the paperwork for Walt and Chris Onis truck?
Yes, do you want to add a condition that a row of hay bales will be installed at the limit of work line?
I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay,
Yes.
Is there anything else for this?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much does it.
And so Elaine, you'll take care of that negative determination of applicability with that single condition
yes, I will.
and get that out to Walt and Chris Onis truck.
Okay,
Thank you, folks.
All right, thank you
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
Don't we have to sign that?
yes,
Yeah,
yes, it'll come around.
It's already, you've already signed it.
Oh, right.
Oh, we
that's right.
have,
We
okay,
pre-signed it. That's right. Sorry, I forgot.
all right, excellent. It'll go out very shortly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
You're welcome. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next up, old business, new business. We have a request for an extension permit for 84 New Salem Street. It's DEP file 313462.
Dave D'Amico representing Comtank.
What is this project now? What was this? I refresh my memory. I can't remember what the project is.
It's a drainage project at 84 New Salem Street in Wakefield.
Oh, okay.
And we are asking for a 6-month extension from February 17th to August 31st. And we had some issues during the year with COVID and financial issues. And then when we got ready to start, our neighbor Nadoni did not allow us to get the project off because part of the court decision made it so that we would have to give Mr. Nardoni 10 days to review it and then approve it. And we didn't get any answer from him and his attorneys until we got notified on December 5th that the judge ruled that we could move forward with it. But given the passage of time and the time of the season, they extended it from the end of November to August 31st of this year. So that's what we're asking the commission for the extension as well to August 31st.
This
Okay.
is the Commonwealth Tank site, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What is a typical extension period for an order of conditions? Is it usually, is there a standard request that's
There is
usually
no-
made?
You
Could be
can-
anything?
It could be anything, yes.
Okay.
We've done as little as 3 months or 6 months and up to, I think,
Up
couple
to
of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds like reasonable problems that you encountered that would delay the project. So I would be okay with an extension.
That would be greatly appreciated.
What has actually happened for the project to this point? Anything?
We were going back and forth with the city engineer, and actually he made some changes to the plan that we have from Allen and Major. Carlton Quinn is the engineer, and he made it so that it would be a little bit simpler and less costly, which we're not unhappy about. But that brought us into, the late part of October, November, and then we were having issues with Mr. Nardone because he wouldn't approve the plans. And then finally, the judge ruled, I think it was November 24th, but we didn't get notice until December 5th, that the judge basically said, you haven't, in 3 years, you've had an opportunity to tell us what the issue was, and you never did. And at that point, he just said, we're gonna give you the extension to August 31st, and that was it.
Mm. What kind of changes did you make, though? What did the changes affect?
You have to talk to the engineer. I'm not technical enough to be able to tell you that.
Changes in locations or just what is being placed in the ground, what's being constructed?
And do the changes affect the permitting that you got from us originally? Does it affect what you're asking for an extension of?
It would enter into it because we were still going back and forth between Carlton Quinn and the engineer until we finally got the plan the way that the engineer wanted it to be. That took us into early November, and issues with Mr. Nardone Sr. Brought us into a point where we couldn't begin anyway because of the weather conditions. And we have to do it in conjunction with paving, because both the drainage and the paving have to be done at the same time in order to make this thing work the way it's supposed to.
Elaine, do you have the original file there?
Hold on. I have the file. I don't know if I have all the plans. And I did not expect this. I don't know what changes Bill Renault made.
Very, very minimal, and you can to the engineer. I don't think it's anything that's going to affect the permitting.
Yeah.
So if I do an extension permit, what I probably put on it is the revised plan and the date on the revised plan with the town engineer's changes.
Well,
Okay.
don't you think that we should look at the changes before we?
Right.
All right. I can get them for you. I'm sure I can get them electronically out of Bill's office.
I think I like I said before, I'm okay, just myself anyways, I'm okay with the extension, but I still think that it wouldn't hurt to get something from Bill saying what the changes were so that we're aware, make sure it was no effect on any resource area.
Right, but they'll be needing to come before us with the revised plan anyways.
Well, that's true. That's true. If it's a minor modification or if it's something simple, yeah. It sounds like it's probably something very simple that doesn't require any kind of, another hearing or anything. But I think it's important to know what the changes are, what we're.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right, and I think there's two separate, transactions here. One is the
Right.
extension and the other is a review of the changes.
Right.
Those don't need to be commingled.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
So we can vote on the extension.
Yep.
Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we extend it.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Silvana,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
and Teresa, did I get you already?
No, yeah, I did, yes.
Okay. All right, I also vote yes, so it's unanimous to vote for the extension. So
And,
how long are we looking to extend this?
well, whatever the time frame is that they're looking at, it was like, he told you what he was looking for a time
It was
frame.
6, it was
We're
6
hoping
months.
for 6 months until August 31st.
That sounds reasonable.
And now I think we should formally request that we get some information on the changes that have taken place on the plans, just for our own records, possibly.
So does Elaine or Rebecca reach out to town engineer for those, or just the applicant would be providing a new plan?
No, the applicant should supply us with the correct plan. We should know we should have the right plan even referenced on. I mean, if there's changes, you need to know what they are and have it referenced on a document.
Do you want me to have the engineer from Allen and Major send those to you directly?
I think that'd be, what happened? Bill asked for changes, so the engineer made the changes? Is that what happened?
The engineer was looking at the plans and there was something that interfered with, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it interfered with something that would cause an issue. And he revised the plan to make sure that didn't happen.
Okay. So the revision was due to something he found,
Yes,
not Bill. And then Bill just reviewed the change.
correct.
Okay. So why don't we get the plan from the engineer? If we have to talk to Bill, we'll talk to Bill separately. All right, can you get us the plan from the engineer highlighting what the change was?
Sure.
Okay. I think
Can
that
we
should be
also get an electronic copy of that so we can send it out to the Conservation Commission members from the office?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So are you guys going to reach out to the engineer or do you want me
No,
to reach out?
No,
You
you
reach out to your engineer
Okay.
and ask him or her to send it to us by email.
What's the email address I should direct it to?
Elaine, give them your contact information.
Send it to rdavis@wakefield.ma.us.
Wakefield, MA.US.
Rebecca,
Okay,
you're a little slow on that. You could have given her Elaine's.
sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You
You
too.
too.
Good night.
All right, Rebecca.
Can you adjust your camera so we see more than your lips?
Who?
You.
You,
Hey,
Jim, yeah.
All we see is just this part.
You,
No, it's still the same.
I have no place to put this thing.
It's still the same.
Still the same?
Yeah, now we,
Oh, that's better, that's better.
you can see, yeah.
okay, very good.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me out with that.
Pull back a tiny bit, Jim.
Yeah, sit back. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I
He
won't
steps
move.
back.
Are you using your phone, Jim? Is that why you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's harder.
Okay, so what's next?
So that's all that's on the agenda unless Elaine or Rebecca have something else for us.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
I sat in on the Environmental Sustainability Committee meeting tonight before this meeting, and they were talking about the town forest,
Oh, really?
Oh.
about protections for that, because they talked about land trust before. But there's a new economic development director now that Paul Revis is gone. So that website has changed, and there's no reference to the open space plan or pretty much to open space at all. I mean, I know that's not her focus, but she may be someone you want to invite to. upcoming
That's maybe that's one of her planks to economically develop the town.
Maybe. But I think it would be nice to have the open space plan on the town website. So I think it would be worthwhile to have the commission have her come in. I mean, open space is should be part of an economic development plan. I know her focus is downtown business.
I
but-
think, or the economic development plan should reconcile itself with, with a competing desire for open space. Maybe that's the better way of putting it,
Mm.
What else came out of that? Judy, anything else come out of that meeting tonight?
They're trying to be designated as a green community.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
is there like a laundry list of things that you have to, that you have to do to get that designation?
Yeah, it's about recycling and sustainability, things like that.
I had to get rid of the raptor.
What's that?
I had to get rid of the raptor for us to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was.
You've done your part.
And does that make us eligible for some grant monies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
It would
open
be
space is
interesting
an
to-
ongoing agenda item of theirs. So it might be something that, one of you, a couple of you want to jump onto the next meeting and talk about. I think that might be helpful.
Is there
'Cause
any way
otherwise
that we
it's
could
gonna
get the
die off.
criteria? It would be interesting just to just know in general what the criteria are to get the designation. What would be the, is there like a document that kind of shows what you need to do to get it?
I'd just be interested in knowing just in general, what are they, how do they prioritize things to do?
I can find out.
So Judy, are you asking for one of us to go to an economic development meeting to emphasize the importance of open space to our mission?
Yeah, the environmental sustainability. And I think if the economic development director,
I'm sorry, environmental things, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, Judy.
well, if the economic development director could be invited to a Concom meeting, I think that might be helpful. Just so she could have some background on what conservation does. Maybe the open space plan could be put back on her website or.
How do we
So
do
there,
that?
it's just so there's thought out there.
Do we ask Sherry Dalton to do that? How do we do that?
To get her to come, I think you could just send her an email.
Have Rebecca.
You can send an email to rdavis at,
Well, that's something Rebecca can do.
Yeah,
Just
I'll
make
do that because I just had a Zoom meeting for Carvana with her. And so we did have a little bit of a back and forth. So I'm happy
oh, good.
to say again.
No, so you have rapport with her. That's good.
Yeah, so I'm happy to talk to her and
You had a
ask her
meeting
if she.
about Carvana?
Yes, yes.
Well, you looking for a car?
They're looking at it. They're looking at what?
I was asking.
Yeah, they're
Teresa if she's
looking at
for a car.
they're looking at a site potentially in Wakefield. So it's over by the hotel, and they're just trying to determine whether or not it's a viable project. But it's really cool. So it'd be easy from our perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay. That it?
But I think it would be worthwhile to jump in on an environmental sustainability meeting as well.
What do you mean?
Do we have to be invited to that, Judy?
No, I just log on.
Okay.
I just inject myself. They're not going to, because the open space issue is going to die on their committee because it's already starting to die. So I think it's a good thing to jump on it.
When was the last plan done?
Well,
It was
has to be-
updated in 2012, I think.
So it's more than 5 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
That needs to be updated.
Yep.
That's something we should think about. I don't know if there's any grant money to do the updating on that.
Well, you can update portions of it. You can look at the action plan. I mean, that's something that should be reviewed every year anyways.
Rebecca, is that something you can start to look into?
Sure. Did you hear me? I said yes.
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Because they have a lot of members on their committee, and the DPW director is involved with it, someone from Gas and Light. So, I mean, it's an integral part of sustainability. So I think it's something that,
Yeah, it really seems like there should be a lot of overlap between our desire for open space and environmental sustainability. I mean, I think you're right about that, Judy. It's funny how little communicate, sometimes, that it should be something on both our radar screens, and we should be talking because it's a matter of concern to both of us.
but there's an assumption that it's already talked about in conservation. That's part of it. It's an assumption that it's already being worked on. And a lot of the issue, like the town forest, that has been, I mean, an ongoing issue for, I don't know, 30 years.
What is the issue with town forest, just out of curiosity? What is
That
the
a
issue?
majority of it is tax title. There's no protection.
Oh, I see.
So
So you're saying that the Economic Development Committee could have they could go on a roll and
Want to develop it?
yeah.
No, but I talked to them about they had mentioned interest in establishing a land trust. So I'd given them some information, and one of them had talked to someone at the state, a land manager, and that person suggested Chapter 97, but told them it was simply going to town meeting, which it isn't. And I mean, it's one of those things that parcels are seen in bits and pieces by this committee, by the environmental sustainability, when it should be seen in a more global view of it.
I think it would be a surprise for a lot of people when you talk about town forest. I think that implies that it sort of has some formal status to it and is not just tax taking where no one bothered to cut down any trees for a while.
And on the map, it shows a gigantic, like 45 acres, which isn't all town forest. But when you look at mapping, like private mapping, it shows this broad area of town forest.
And some of it's privately held.
No, it's mostly town owned, but some is DPW, some is parks, but there's a gigantic amount that's tax title. This is part of the area that we sent out all the abutter letters to people that lived in this area and said, what are your views on open space? And we got no response.
So your point is that, your point is that that town forest sort of, I mean, it doesn't, it's by its very name sort of imply that it's kind of protected.
Yes,
it does. Yes, it does.
And all I'm thinking is that maybe, I mean, I think that, I mean, it seems to me like that would come as a surprise to a lot of people, that if we were to make a proposal.
It is a surprise to a lot of people, and it's the same response over and over. That's why I brought it to environmental sustainability, because they had mentioned land trust. It's always a surprise, and then it just falls off the face of the earth.
Because I would think that
there is some protection too. I mean, it does abut massive wetland and bog. It's basically behind my house.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of it's unbuildable anyway. So it's, I guess what we're saying is that maybe it's an opportunity for, it's kind of interesting. It would be an opportunity for town council or town meeting, or, to maybe, take that up as a cause, because, I think they would get some credit for doing something, tangible to protect the town forest. And it would probably be hard to develop anyway. So it wouldn't come at a big cost.
There is development abutting it on most of the perimeter. There are some nice trails back there. You can get into Maple Way from the town forest, behind Castle Clare and that whole Montclair area. It goes right behind there also. Comes up behind me and it butts Saugus. It is really nice back there. Watch out for the coyotes. But
since it's tax title, anyone could put in a request to purchase it, not necessarily for development, but then access could be blocked off.
Right.
Yeah, there's not a lot of good access as it is. it's difficult to get into.
Right. There's a lot of things that make it a challenge, and that would make it easier for the, would it be town council or town meeting to?
Right, but there
to
are trails that
dedicate
you
it.
can access right from the field, right from the
Yeah.
Maple.
Maple Way,
Right.
and actually, can you get there from JJ Round at all?
Yes.
I think you can.
Yeah,
So there's it could be a much better trail system.
yes,
There's plenty of access points to the forest.
right, but most of them are through private property.
Right, but actually there's a long stretch over the road that used to go up to the castle. There's a big stretch of road there that one side of the road is town forest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's up Reynolds Road to Castle Clare, Montclair, and
Yeah,
I forget the other road that's there.
I don't know what it is either. My friend lives up there, so I know.
But the ones that are directly in Maple Way are the ones that could be a focus because there's a park there already and a
Right, there's
playground.
parking.
And then,
Okay.
right, and then there are trails right there. I mean,
Yeah.
that to me is a huge marketable point, is
Mhm.
having trails in Wakefield. It's so urbanized now, but that is something that could make it marketable. That's why I'm saying there's a link in.
Yeah.
economic development.
So, Judy, would it be something that, I mean, would this be an appropriate thing for us to take up as a cause and to, for example, write a letter to the selectmen or to the, or even to the daily item as well to describe the issue and describe that why it would be, why something like this, which a lot of people assume is protected, should be given a status that's consistent with what people think is the right thing to do with it, and ask them to consider it.
Right, but you'd have to outline, is it all the parcels you'd want protected?
Well, I
or-
know that,
That's the thing.
but I guess the point is, isn't that kind of on us? I just want to try to understand
Yes, I think so.
what is on us and what is on, coming up to a meeting. And if your point is that that's sort of a specific, that goes back to whoever made the point that we don't have to update the entire, open space plan, but to focus on one discrete thing that we think would be a, would help preserve it in perpetuity as open space.
Right, I
And
think
then-
I think the commission could advocate for that, because that's part of your mandate.
I think it'd be actually something that the town, I mean, I don't know if you do, but did you say that has to be approved by town meeting to take tax time, to take that kind of, or could that be
No,
done by town council?
No, for it to have the chapter 97 protection. No, it's just in tax title now, so maybe it could be transferred
No.
over to conservation, or like they've
I
done
guess-
with Holland Road.
But what the question I'm asking is that a town, is this a town council thing or is this a town meeting thing?
Town council. You could go to town council if you don't want to go to chapter 97,
Okay, well, now I don't really.
because then it takes it off the market. to-
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I know the nuances about what the chapter 97 versus just
What's
going to town
chapter
council.
97, Judy, I'm sorry, I don't know it.
Yeah,
the
that's
one
all.
that- It has to be passed by town meeting and approved by the state legislature.
And
What
what would
is-
you get? What would you get that you wouldn't get?
It's
by the
considered
just-
parkland, because then it's
To be
a
considered
permanent
parkland,
protection.
I'm sorry, I got you, okay.
So what would be the advantage of what do you get? Because obviously that's like the varsity move, and the junior varsity
Right.
move is just to get it off the tax rolls, right? But it's
Right.
and so what is the difference? What do you get with the varsity plan that you don't get with the junior? I guess what I'm asking is one is more trouble, and we should probably decide among ourselves whether it's whether the incremental advantage is worth the incremental trouble. That's all I'm getting at, really.
Right.
And I don't know but it's interesting. I didn't know the two existed. And I know obviously the incremental troubles, you got to go to town meeting, right? To get the chapter 97.
Right. I think a good starting point would be to look at the open space plan as it is, look at the priority list that's in there, and decide what parcels do you want to advocate for. for protection. Rather than go in with one small one, go in with a list.
Yeah,
Say, this
Yeah,
is
but
what we're
isn't-
looking for, and these are the reasons, and this is
Right.
why it's important. And that way, when you talk to environmental sustainability, it's another core group of people advocating for it. And one of the town councilors is on the environmental sustainability committee. So it gives a broader voice to the importance and to the number of people who want this. Because
So you're-
otherwise, if it's one or two people, it's not going to go anywhere.
But I think this would be actually, because if we called it generic, I mean, if we're looking at just the area that we're generically calling the town forest, I mean, anything that we would call that would be sort of contiguous. Wouldn't it all be, they would all butt each other, right? There wouldn't be islands right?
Right.
So we might have to see at the fringes, there might be some things that we wouldn't, that might be developable. We might be pushing our luck on, right? Is that your point? That,
well,
No, no, I don't think so.
how many
okay,
acres,
so,
how many acres are we talking? How much area?
I think it's 45 acres overall.
But in addition to that 45 acres are, multiple types of wetlands and
Right.
streams and ponds and all kinds of things.
Yeah,
I mean, are you
Right.
saying within that or in addition to those 45 acres?
Within it and
Within
adjacent
it.
to it. So that
Okay.
45 acres, I wouldn't be surprised if it's triple the total space when you actually get down to all that open space.
well, maybe we should take a close look at how much land is we're talking about and what the conditions are out there. Like if you're saying this is streams and ponds, wetlands and stuff like that, you might want to know what percentage of the property is what. I'm sure that someone's going to talk about why it couldn't be developed.
Hey,
I
Frank,
don't think so, but I think the question might be why take it out of tax title? But the argument is always there might be someone who just wants it and then restricts access to the public. I mean, that's always a risk. And it's it's like everything else. The land looks like there's nothing you can do with it, and then all of a sudden it can be developed. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so it goes in 15 years, 20 years, things change,
Mhm.
regulations change.
hey,
Right.
Frank, you want to pull up an aerial of that area and share it
Yeah,
with us?
or even for the next meeting. I mean, we could do that now, but maybe for the next meeting, could we put an agenda item to maybe have something that we could look at and just sort of, because your first thing is to identify what the area is that we would want to protect. That was the point. And then to figure out how much of it is, because you're saying some of it is protected and some of it's not, right? But to turn it into one consolidated area that's
So some of it is
protected.
protected only because it contains wetlands that are subject to our jurisdiction, but
Right.
it's not protected.
Right.
That's the point, is that it's not, it's just in tax title and
Well, no, you're saying you're saying that all of what is, Judy, are you saying that everything that we colloquially call the town forest is all in tax title? I thought, or just parts of it are in tax title?
The majority is.
Majority. Okay, but there's some that's not. Okay.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Is this what you're looking at?
Yeah, so
No, it's
scroll north just a bit. All right, so there you go. Your hand is right in the wetland behind my house. So the town forest is,
What are the light green ones?
that's a wetland right behind me and a bog.
Yeah,
You can't really see the trails, but you can see ledge outcroppings here and there. There's all kinds of elevation changes. And there are
Maple Way to the left.
some small open ponds. You can see those. And there are trails that go around the perimeter that actually bring you out to Maple Way, which is on the left side. You can see the ball field.
oh yeah.
Ball pond in there.
So if you were just going to go around the perimeter and just do if you were just going to draw, use that thing to just go around the outer perimeter of what we think of the town forest, what would it look like? Where would it go?
So it's mostly the northern section of the wooded area. So that general area, yeah, that's Montclair, Castle Clare, all that. That I believe is all abutting Acorn Ave. I think that is generally what is the actual town forest, correct, Judy?
So what if you went
Well,
up and to the right? What
what
if
I
you went up
consider
and
the
to the
ta-
right? Yeah.
What I consider the town forest is closer to the baseball field at Maple Way,
Okay.
because that's where the trails are the most accessible. And
Yeah.
then they loop into the other trails.
Right, they do
So
go
would
around the whole
anything-
perimeter of the wetland.
Right.
So if you look on the top left, like once you get on the other side of that street, is that any of that like town forest, or does it stop there? If you
It's
went, if you move the hand up to the left and then up across the street, is that town forest?
No, a lot of that is tax title.
That-
But
yeah,
is it?
that-
That's
What-
that Emerald Necklace in Holland Ave that we were
Right,
talking about.
Right.
Okay, okay.
And there are trails
Well,
in there
okay.
as well.
And what about on the other, now if you move up to the right, on the other side of that
So-
street, is that area something we would want to try to protect? Or is that private, is that publicly, is that town owned?
That's a wetland in there,
Okay.
where the hand is now.
Is it town owned though?
Parts of it
Yeah.
are.
Yeah,
No, I
parts of
don't
it
know.
are.
And if you moved your cursor to the right, all the way to the right side, just a little even more, and then move the picture, so you can keep going. How about that over there? What is all that? On the, yeah, anything on, yeah, what's that?
Brake cart.
Break heart.
Break heart.
Okay,
Oh, so
And
that's
this
a high point.
area is also within the ACEC, which is another thing that should be highlighted. At townwide, it's something
Is
that's
it-
very unique to Wakefield. And it's another thing that's a good marketing tool, I think.
so what
Is
did you
this-
call it?
But the town forest is an ACEC?
Part of it is, I think. I don't know where the exact line is.
Part of
It's
the
right around
Golden
there.
Hills, part of the Golden Hills definitely are ACEC.
Yes.
What is ACEC? I'm
An
sorry.
area of
Area
critical
of critical
environmental concern.
environmental
Peter, get with it.
So
No, I don't
Hey.
know either. Excuse me.
I'm only kidding. I know, Silvana.
I know, but I wanted to chime in too, to defend Peter.
I'm
so,
just.
Judy, does the town forest go all the way to Maple Way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, right behind the baseball field.
Is there a plan that we can get that could easily figure out the different plots and who owns it and what?
Yeah, that sounds like
Part of
the
town.
right way to go, because,
Yeah,
everyone talks about the town forest. I really never knew what the limits of the town forest
Well,
was.
the reason why I bring it up is Frank, if you switch it to Google Maps, right on Google Earth, if you switch it to the little map icon, only part of that area is shown as Wakefield Town Forest Park.
And who,
It's just
who
not clear.
does
It abuts Saugus also, so part of that is Saugus Woods.
and who designated a town forest? How did that name come about even? And what does it mean?
Jimmy made it up like 50 years ago.
Ken, can you do that right from here?
Yeah, I think it's the second symbol from the right, possibly. Does that one say maps when you click on it? Yeah, do that. It's gonna switch you to maps view. Or it should. Or maybe not. I just, like a couple other folks, I don't know what the limits are and
Mm.
the
We should,
ownership.
we should start with that. Let's find out how much area we're talking about.
That didn't work for you, Frank.
And you look at the tax parcels and see what the ownership is.
I tried to do that route while we were talking, but it wasn't easy. For me, at least.
I think we have all this information because I remember doing this before I left.
there is, it's in the office.
Yeah, I think we have it all. I have a map. I think it has outlined which ones are town owned, which department by the town. It can be town owned, but like you were saying, just tax title and it's not designated under a department. And I think we have it all overlaying the assessor's parcels. So I think we have all of the information
Oh,
that you
that's
guys are looking
great.
for.
Okay.
So we'll just have to
An
get it to you
example
guys.
of that, then the
Mhm.
idea is to designate what parcels we're concerned about and then do what?
Well, you could put trails through there. There's,
No,
What
I
do you
mean,
do
in
to
terms of
protect it?
protection. I'm sorry, no, I understand what you can do physically on the ground. I mean, in terms of protecting it. Then we would
oh, okay.
recommendation as to why, and maybe that's the point.
I think you're looking to have it transferred over to the Conservation
land.
Commission.
Okay.
Is it?
So it's
it
owned
wouldn't
by
be
the town.
parks?
and care and custody of the Conservation Commission.
And I
And when
know
that
we-
happens,
Right.
then in the event that someone were interested in purchasing it, it is now under the control of the
And
commission.
we own other property in town, is that correct?
I have a list in front of me, actually. Mhm.
Mhm.
So, but it has to be designated specifically for conservation purposes.
And the town could do that on its own.
Mhm.
To be
Is
honest
it-
with you,
is
don't
it-
remember. I'll have to look into it.
Is it easier to try to make it a park protected that way, or is it easier to try to make it ours under conservation?
You know,
Not
It is generally considered for active recreation. Town forest conservation areas are generally dedicated
Passive
to
recreation.
passive recreation.
Right.
but if you had a parcel that's under the Conservation Commission, the town is unable to sell it. Is that correct, Elaine?
You have to get it through town meeting and then a two-thirds
Two-thirds vote.
counts of the state legislature. Now, I've done this before in Winchester, and what happens is if it passes town meeting, then the representative from the House and the representative of Wakefield to the Senate both say Wakefield wants this. And then the other legislators defer to the town or the district where the transfer will take place. So if Winchester wants to, if Wakefield wants to develop its town forest and town meeting has decided that it should, then somebody from the Berkshires is not going to object to it, most likely. It'll pass.
So if the process you described said, it would apply, Lane, if it's transferred in the name of Conservation Commission, and if we wanted to sell it.
We don't own it.
No, I'm saying, I'm just trying to understand what you just said. I'm sorry, Lane, I don't mean to be thick. In order to transfer to Conservation Commission, what has to happen? And I guess if Rebecca said she doesn't know, she's gonna look into it.
Oh, if land is owned by the town, then the select board, or what do they call them? The town council can transfer the property to the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. That can be done by a town council vote. If you want, once you do that, however,
right,
it's locked in under the protection of Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution, and then you have to go back into getting a town meeting approval, and then it goes back to the state legislature.
Okay, but that's key, because if it just needs the town council vote to transfer to the Conservation Commission, that would be great. I mean, that's easy.
And that's what was done with the Angel property on Holland Road.
And would that have any, we had talked at the very beginning of this conversation about this, trying to get some sort of environmental sustainability designation. Would there be any way, that's what I'd be interested, one of the things I'd like to look at, if we could understand what are the things that you have to do to qualify to get it?
I sent it to you. I texted it to you.
Right.
Oh, you texted it?
Yeah. Can you just finish the thought, though? I think it's worthwhile, again, and maybe I'm just repeating what we've already agreed to, for Rebecca to take a look at that, designate the parcel, and then we can, it seems to me, it's not really heavy lifting to ask, us to determine what parcels we think should be transferred to us, and see if the town council is willing to do that.
So I think the issue is not necessarily identifying the parcels, because we have all that information. And actually, I think we even started going through and creating a catalog that would highlight which parcels had like an ecological benefit, or what types of benefits were on each one. We went through and we started doing that a couple moons ago. I think the issue that you will run into is convincing other departments in the town to relinquish their control and to give it to you. I think that was always the hurdle. From the conversations that I remember, that was the biggest issue. Why would we transfer it to the Conservation Commission? Because then at that point, we lose all control if we ever want to do something in the future.
So Rebecca, what you just said translates to me to saying, okay, the parcels are not owned by the town in general, but they're owned by specific departments of it. And that's what I'm trying to say.
The tax title are under the tax
Treasurer.
collector's office.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would have any objection
Right.
Right, but I don't think they would have any objections. Some of these were taken, 60, 70 years ago.
So I think we start with, again, I'm just trying to move this along. I think we start with figuring out what the parcels are and exactly who owns them. And then look at that and then figure out how difficult it might be to convince whoever owns them, whether it be a specific department or whether it's just the tax collector, and whether or not the town council, that sounds like, has the authority to, I mean, if they're in tax title, it seems to me the town could, I mean, again, the town council, if that's all it takes and not a town meeting, could decide to transfer it. And then I'll convince the town council to do that.
And I think that's where you stand, trying to convince the town council to do that.
Okay.
And like I said, this has been a couple of years, but that's where I remember being the biggest hurdle. Because from their perspective, there was no advantage to that. It might be different now.
Probably think, it's not developed. I mean, I get that. They think it's not developable. No one's going to want to buy it. Why bother? I'm sure that, I mean, that's one way of looking at it, but it could, and maybe true.
But the other side of that coin is that it's not a difficult thing for the town council to do, because there's no, we're not asking for the moon and the stars. We're not asking them to give us something that,
unless it's politically not great, because it looks like they're giving up valuable town land, right? I mean.
Right, but I think that's where, if you bring in the economic development director and have a more focused strategy that talks about how much more marketable Wakefield is if you're highlighting these natural areas of interest. The area of critical environmental concern, things like that, that draws people in, and that's going to boost business interest. It's going to introduce marketability of homes. And that's where I think getting her involved comes in.
And I think it could have a halo effect on the town council to sort of make, if they want to be perceived as forward thinking and, long-term stewards of the well-being of the town. People are laughing.
I think if you look at the list of areas that were originally targeted in the open space plan and do it as a comprehensive view of what you want, and then from there, come up with a strategy to pitch to economic development director. And I think she'd give you an honest take on whether this is something she would use as a marketing tool or she sees as beneficial. And then you could go from there to the town council, because then you're just building more coalition as you get closer to asking for that. Environmental sustainability is interested. If you get her interested, it's that much more momentum that you're building.
So can we agree on step one?
To look at the open space plan?
Which I think Rebecca said she would do.
Yes, and I will also send you guys on Tuesday the parcels that we're talking about, and they'll be identified under what ownership it is.
That'd be great.
I'll do both of that on Tuesday.
It's hard to read on this green community stuff on my phone, but it looks to me like it's principally geared toward alternative energy and conservation, and not so much toward things like open space. But I could be wrong. So maybe that's not.
But open space ties into sustainability, which is the big push in town now. So it all comes back around, and I think it's about making an inroad where you can, making an argument for how it fits in.
Well, I think for us, it's certainly, now that you say it, I think it would be something that we should care about, because we're trying to protect this. We all, I think, want to protect the town for that area. And maybe it won't be that hard to do if we could, if it's not, if the true cost of doing it isn't that high, because this would be challenged to develop anyway. Then maybe
I wouldn't say it's a challenge to develop. I think that's false, but just so you understand, I think there is value to the property. I think there's a lot of value to the property. Just because the bonds are there, that may be making it more valuable. But that's just a comment on. I don't think you can say that it's not valuable.
But I think what makes it valuable is everything else, the ACEC designation,
Right.
different things like that. When you layer it on, it
Multiple lines
increases.
of evidence. You want to bring as many
Correct.
different arguments to the table, whether
Yes.
it's
I'm saying,
conservation lands or the use of it, the trails. Hay,
I'm
there's a
saying-
bunch of rock.
I'm saying as far as the town council might be concerned, there's money, potential income there for the town.
Right, and that's why you have to have an argument against it,
Right.
to
Exactly.
go against that.
Because there's potential income to the town by marketing such a unique aspect. That's my argument.
Yeah, that's the part I don't really actually get, Judy. But because
It's about increasing, well, it's
property
I mean-
values, because we have a town. farm.
right, property values, businesses that are in a community that's, covetable. If it has these unique areas, I mean, no one knows about this stuff. All
What's
the
the zone-
industry,
What's the zoned as?
I have no idea. Probably single family. I don't know off the top of my head.
Good to find out.
There's always that information too that suggested that any properties that are alongside open space or those types of things, the property value increases and you don't have the same drain on services. So it ends up being an economic benefit to have those types of open space parcels. Because like I said, more tax revenue coming in because of the value, but you're not having to spend it on things like schools or additional things like that. I think that is actually on our website, that that report. I remember that from a couple of years ago too. But I think that may be one case to make, especially now. I think it's probably pretty strong.
I have a question. Is this being brought up again because there's been a big push again, considering it's been going on for years? What has brought this on again? Is there a big push?
No, I tried to bring it up every couple of months because it keeps dying off.
It's all Judy.
We're fortunate to have someone who,
on my agenda.
you know
Yeah,
what,
I'm
it's a
on top of
good,
it.
but Judy, it resonates with me as an agenda item that maybe we could, that we could shore up some long-term protection for something. Because we have seen situations where someone comes forward with an offer and the town just, they just, why not? And it's just very hard when because we get those every year. You get these, someone's offered money for this piece of property, and we always cross our fingers and hope that our recommendation is accepted, not to develop it. And it, I don't know. I think that's actually a worthwhile expenditure of our time, this project.
No, I agree. Well, it's like a parcel next to the first thing on our agenda item. Remember, he said we talked about that parcel next to 122 Kendrick, Jimmy, that was supposed to be transferred to the town, and
Right.
and it turned out Mr. One Chuck bought it.
Right.
The one with the steep rock face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if the conservation unanimously agrees not to, who overrides it? Who overrides the conservation? This is what I understand.
Town council.
Town council.
Town
does.
council. We have
We,
the only thing we have jurisdiction over is enforcing the Wetlands Protection Act.
I have something interesting here. You might.
Here's the parcel that
Yeah.
you just mentioned.
I remember that. Well, we had trouble because I had to be ADA compliant, right? Wasn't that part of the issue when it was going to be transferred
Yes.
over and if it was going to be open to the public?
right.
Yeah, originally signs was supposed to put a path through here,
Right, that house
right
at the
to
end.
town forest.
Right.
It's
And
on
never
some
got-
plans, that
It
easement.
was never conveyed.
Yeah. I remember that.
I've got something here you guys might be interested in. It's Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 45, Section 21. The state legislature wants cities and towns to have town forests. I'll just read this. It's a short statute. It says the selectmen in the town and the mayor and the city council in the city shall appoint a special town forest committee to manage and care for that portion of the public domain known as the city or town forest. Provided, however, that a town may vote to designate the Conservation Commission of said town to manage and care for such town forest. Provided further that a town may vote to authorize said Conservation Commission to appoint such town forest committee, and provided further that in a city, the mayor and the city council may appoint a forester or other board or officer to provide such management and care of such forest. Such forest shall exclude lands held within the watershed of any pond, stream, reservoir, well, or other water used by a city or town as a source of water supply. The special town forest committee shall be comprised of 3 members who shall choose their own chair and who shall serve without compensation. 1 member is appointed each year for a term of 3 years, except that when first appointed, 1 shall be appointed for a term of 3 years, 1 for 2, and then 1 for 1. So at some time, I have to look at the history of this piece of legislation, but I believe it arose because the state legislature at one time, I think it may have been late in the 1890s, I'm not sure, wanted each town to have its own town forest. So I guess the next question is, I'm not aware if Wakefield has a town forest committee.
They don't.
They don't. I didn't think so. And then this gives the Conservation Commission an option of appointing a town forest committee. So that's a surprise. So I'll send you a copy of this piece of legislation and whatever else I can find on the history of it. And
Does any of it talk about
if we want to go forward to talk about a town forest committee or having the Conservation Commission take it over, whatever else.
It's not something that's defined. I don't think the term town forest is not defined in this. So it doesn't mean that, in other words, going back to Judy's thing, it doesn't mean that you can't call it a town forest if it's tax taking property that could be sold, by the town council.
That's right. It has to be a specially designated town forest. Otherwise, you just have land held by the select board, the town council, that can be sold by town council.
Right.
Once you designate a town forest, it's protected.
And then where does it say that when you designate something as a town forest, that
there's a number of attorney general opinions on it. I can send those as well.
Oh, that's cool. So in other words, that designation actually would accomplish much of what we want. Just actually a formal designation of calling it a town forest.
And dedicating it as a town forest, yes.
Is there any restrictions on the size? Like, is there a minimum that amount of land that they can call a town forest?
Nothing related to this statute. I could, this is what I just found. I'll see what else I can find under the topic of town forests and put together a package. But that's all I can find right now.
So we're just we call it a town forest, but it's not.
Do we know that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Ken.
Yeah, true.
Is it, I guess, or to put it differently, is it possible that designation's been made?
If it were, it would be in the chain of title at the Registry of Deeds.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Well,
Google thinks it's a Wakefield Town Forest.
Right, yeah.
Well, that must be right then, obviously, Bob. Why can't we just, we could just ask that, wouldn't the assessor's office know that?
No, it's probably in the open space plan. I know Paul Revis went over this, so it's got to be in the open space plan.
So when anything is designated as dedicated as town forest, you think would be in the open space plan?
Correct.
Okay.
Elaine, how hard would it be to find those attorney general opinions saying that if you call something a town forest, it has a
I have that information printed out in my office in Winchester, so I can just scan it and send it over. I already have it.
And can you call something a town forest? Does that limit your ability to use it for passive recreation?
What I know about this in terms of the deed, I know from Winchester. And in Winchester, we have a town forest, and the deed says it has like a meets and bounds description. And it says when they're talking about the grantor grantee, they talk about it being accepted for the purpose of the cultivation of trees. And they make reference to it as a town forest.
Who's the grantor and who's the grantee in that?
Well, in
Yeah.
Winchester, it was bought, it was a large parcel of land, and they bought it, or it was donated from the grantor. And then when they accepted it and decided to dedicate it as a town forest.
Okay, but our case would be different because it's already in the name of the town. Most of it is in the name of the town already.
I guess you would take a look at the parcels.
Right.
And see how they were taken, and see if in the deed it referenced that such and such a parcel, gives the meets and bounds, was taken by the town of Wakefield and dedicated for the cultivation of trees.
No,
or
I'm sure.
taken as a town forest.
Yeah, I'm sure when someone doesn't pay their property taxes, that's not what they're thinking, you know?
No, it's nothing.
You'd have to look at each parcel and see
Yeah.
if there's like a core portion that is a town forest. See which parcels have what level of protection.
Yeah. A lot of work there,
It is a lot of work.
but we
Well,
should.
I think
it's
a good
That's
worthwhile.
why I
start-
should do it. No, I agree. Well, thank you for sending that information about that, Elaine.
Yeah.
All right, I'll pull together what I can find.
And then Rebecca's gonna send us what we already have about the open space and the parcels. And the thing that would be missing was doing it, search and looking at each deed and seeing what it says. That's the work.
Yeah. I don't know how many parcels we're talking about, do you?
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So we can start, at least, we can put it on the agenda every week just to talk about it. Maybe not, maybe not for 45 minutes, but.
well, no, it's good. It's good time spent.
No, you're right, it is. And we had a very small agenda, so it is good time.
Right, right. And it's a perfect time to do it because we had a small agenda.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's a great idea.
A recurring item on the agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Where's Bob?
I'm right here.
You're in charge. What are we doing?
So anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Does anyone want to summarize what we're having done first? What Elaine's gonna do and what Rebecca's gonna do, and so we know what to expect at the next meeting? We should have a meeting scheduled for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
28th.
Even though there's nothing on the agenda right now, or if there turns out to be nothing on the agenda, we should have the meeting anyways. And we should put this item in.
But I think you should look at the open space plan and look at the action item pages and go from there and see what you want to do before you get into all the other legwork.
Yeah.
Did you say there was a revision to the open space plan? Because I found.
Yeah, it wasn't-
2010 on the website, but I haven't found.
That's the
anything.
most updated one. They did
Okay.
revisions in order to fit a grant. So it wasn't anything that was applicable really to conservation. So you can update the parcels, there should be an update, and that could be a good starting point maybe. Update the action plan items and send that to town council. And then say, while we're here, we want to talk about this, this, and this about the town forest. You have to have a strategy rather than just coming in and saying, hey, we want a town forest.
Well,
It has to be a bigger strategy that's going to be comprehensive to how it's going to benefit the town overall.
Yep, I understand. Okay, so maybe we should all get our copy of the open space plan and read it first.
Yeah, it's online.
Okay. Anything else?
I think it
can
would be
send you
hard
the
to,
link.
yeah. I don't think it would be that hard to vote in favor of, designating the town forest as a town forest. That doesn't seem like it's.
I don't think.
Right, but it might not mean anything.
I don't think you can assume it's gonna be that easy because
It isn't.
I can foresee a lot of drama with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, that's why I want to see those, that Attorney General thing would be pretty cool. I'd just like to understand what is, if there's something implied in that. And do we call it, does the town call it, does the town call it town forest, or that's just a colloquial word that just got, it's interesting to know.
The town calls it that. But if you look at chapter 41B, that outlines recreation land. So you might want to look at that. That can be homework. Look at chapter 41B, 61B, sorry.
61B.
Yep.
Chapter 61B is a formal designation,
Recreation land, but it talks about
as
the state
recreational
parks.
land. That's totally different, Judy. I'm
But-
sorry. I know a little bit about the 61s. 61, 61A, 61B. That's totally different.
But it can
What
be
are we
considered a
talking-
managed forest condition under a certified forest management plan approved by the state.
Classification and taxation of forest lands in forest product. Yeah, these are tax provisions.
Yeah,
This
for you to be assessed much lower in real estate taxes, but in return for it, the town has a right of first refusal if you want to sell it. There's rollback taxes. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to go on. But okay, so our homework is to look at the open space plan on the website. Elaine is still going to send us the information on town forest, and Rebecca is not going to do anything.
Rebecca's gonna see if she can figure out how much land we're talking about.
All right, this is what I was planning on doing. I was gonna identify the boundaries of the town forest or so that is designated. I will show you a picture of the assessor's map with all the parcels identified.
Great.
On that map, I will identify for you which ones are designated either Conservation Commission Park or tax title. I will look into the deeds of the tax title, not the tax title, sorry, the other parcels to see if they were specifically sit or under the a department of the town for a specific reason, and I will get you that information.
Wow, that's was Rebecca.
Maybe on Tuesday, maybe on Thursday,
All in the next hour.
all weekend long.
Okay, that sounds great.
I do remember that map you had, Rebecca.
Yeah, it was. I have some of it with me, actually, ironically, but I don't even
Rebecca's-
remember what I did.
Rebecca,
Rebecca-
when was the last time you were the agent on the commission? How long ago?
4 years ago, I think, and I haven't thought about it since, so I'm a little rusty.
I was gonna say I call that recall pretty darn good.
Absolutely.
There's so much I don't remember. It bothers me. I'll get it someday.
Well, that's great. And again, I think if we just could, and Judy, we'll just put it on as a recurring thing on our agenda.
Yeah, I will do that. I think that's a good idea. Elena and I spoke a little bit about something like this today, so I think this is great.
Do you generate our agenda these days, Rebecca? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. Judy just takes the minutes.
Yeah.
And does important things like telling us what's going on in the Environmental Sustainability Committee, right?
And fields a lot of my questions as well when I see her in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Well, this is great. Thank you.
are we done for the night?
Well, we need to formally adjourn. So if somebody'd like to make a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, polling individually. Silvana,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
and I think I got everybody. I will also vote to adjourn. So we'll,
Nice seeing everyone.
28.
Yes. Good night.
Right.
All right.
Bye now.
Good night.
Good night.